All right, welcome in, everyone. It is feast week. I'm pretty sure we've got like 15, 16 hours of basketball for like the next 3 or 4 days. It's going to be awesome. Tons of games. Welcome in, Brian, Power, Rob, Veno. Hope you guys had a great weekend. No time to mess around with this slate, though, so I'm going to bring you right in. Brian Power, I know you are just thrilled about this format that they've got going on in Las Vegas for the Players era. So let's talk about it. Let's start Alabama, Gonzaga, and if you want to throw some shade at whoever made this thing, go ahead.
Also, you don't like the format. I can tell.
It's one of the worst formats I've ever seen for a tournament, but I like that we're getting these matchups. I'll say that.
Before we get into it, do you want to clarify for the people at home who may not understand? Because because the teams already know who they're playing tomorrow.
Yes.
It's a different format than last year. So we should clarify that, I think.
Clarify it for me? I don't even know what the hell's going on.
So
what is this like?
There's multiple games already set, and then I guess it's just based on how you do in the no, I'm not being held captive by you, Bets. I am on the road at my brother-in-law's. Please, everyone, bear with me with the setup. But it's a different word. It's not a win in advance necessarily because teams are, and for me, it already affects my handicap for Rutgers, Tennessee. But the teams know who they're playing tomorrow already. Rob, are you 100% sure how this works either? Like, I was looking for some clarification either. I saw tomorrow's games are scheduled, but after that, I was a little unclear how they fit the consolation and the winner's advance bracket.
Yeah, and I dug this morning, Brian, honestly, because I was like, well, do they play at opposite venues tomorrow? I mean, the venues are close enough to, and sometimes in these Las Vegas tournaments, you do get a switch of venues, but I couldn't find anything other than who they're going to play today, who they're going to play tomorrow, whether or not there even is a legit quarterfinal, semifinal, championship. All the teams' schedules, when I looked, don't indicate any games after the second game. So I was wondering, does that mean they just don't know the opponent? Or, I mean, it would at least say Las Vegas, Nevada on Wednesday, Las Vegas, Nevada on Thursday, whatever. So if this is just a 2-and-out to give every single team $1 million in NIL money, then, so be
All
it.
right.
But I'm with Adam. Go ahead, Brian.
Just to clarify, so every team's going to play 3 games, and the third game is based on your record in the first 2. Now, I would assume that some teams. So I don't know. If you want, guys, I'm just going to come out and say it. If you're looking for answers on how these tie breaks are going to work, I don't have them for you right now.
When everybody's 1-1.
I'm in a random basement on the other end of the state right now. I'm just trying to plug in and broadcast, gang.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out what's going on there.
That's same with me. They actually put odds out for like who wins this thing, and I was like, how could you even bet that? Like, I feel like there's I don't know if everyone has, like, I think there could be teams that are potentially 2-0 that can't like play for the final. So again, not going to waste any more time on that.
Yeah, I apologize. I just wanted to bring it up.
It's an interesting concept. I think it's a poorly executed format, but the only thing that matters here is we get some really good games, and that's where we're going to start today. Arguably the best game on the slate, in my opinion, is at the Players era tonight. Alabama, Gonzaga. So right back to you, Brian Power. The Zags a favorite here in Vegas. Do you agree or disagree?
Yes, I agree that they should be favored. Do I want to lay it? I don't want to take it. I know that. I mean, you're going to expect points here. I mean, look, right now I've got Gonzaga power rated number 2 behind Duke, I believe. Let me just double check that, make sure nothing's changed. But yeah, I've got Gonzaga power rated number 2. We know Alabama. We've talked about Alabama already this year. And we're going to expect points, I think, in this game. With Gonzaga, I think the issue is, have they been tested? Alabama's been tested. That's what I was trying to stammer out there. They've played Illinois and Purdue and St. John's their last. I mean, what a run that is of 4 games. You go St. John's, Purdue, Illinois, Gonzaga. Those are 4 top 10 teams according to my power ratings. I mean, My God, you talk about Alabama football having the number one strength of schedule in the country. Alabama basketball right now has maybe the toughest strength of schedule in the first 2 weeks I've ever seen. So we know they're battle tested. Gonzaga, not so much. They did blow Creighton's doors off in the second half. I believe one of you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. The game was close at halftime, and then the Zags just blew their door off over the last 20 minutes. So I absolutely believe and agree with the fact Gonzaga laying 4.5. I'm a little higher than that, but not enough that makes me want to slam the Zags in that situation. I apologize for that, for weaseling out of a pick here. But Gonzaga is a deserved favorite. I think the concern is, Alabama's been tested whereas the Zags haven't been tested as much.
Yeah, and I think that's the first thing you go to, right, Brian? Look at the schedule Alabama's played. It currently, depending upon where you're looking, they sit around number 3 in the country in strength of schedule play. And I'm sure somebody out of the SWAC has played a tougher schedule.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But for power teams, and Alabama's been all over the map doing it. Madison Square Garden, United Center, home, Las Vegas, they're all over the place. For me, and I do agree, laying 3.5 is a lot better than laying 4.5, but still it's hard for me to get to Alabama because, guys, I think these rebounding issues are going to come up again. Remember last time we talked about Alabama, Illinois, and how Nate Oates was so pissy after they got crushed on the boards by Purdue 52-28, and then they came back and played Illinois. And I remember talking that day and saying, Illinois didn't exactly crush Texas Tech on the board, so maybe Bama has a chance. And they did have a chance, 40-38 on the boards in that game. They only lost by 2 in rebound margin, and they win 90-86 in the United Center. But I don't know that happens here. Gonzaga is one of the best rebounding teams in the country, actually by metrics better than Purdue, and far superior to Purdue on the defensive rebounding. So a lot of 1-and-outs maybe for Bama, who, if their threes aren't falling, could be problematic. In a lot of ways, these teams are similar. They both shoot the 3 at the same exact percentage. They both want pace. They both, on the defensive end, slow teams down a little bit to get off a shot, while on the offensive end, they want to run. But more edges for the Zags. Their 3-point defense is far superior so far. And beyond that, Alabama, neither of these teams turns the ball over. Real good ball protection. But surprisingly, Alabama doesn't force any turnovers. What are they doing over there? They should be forcing turnovers. That's their style. They haven't. Gonzaga has. I think when I first looked at it, Brian, my initial reaction was, Bama's far more tested. But when you go back and look at the Creightons, the Oklahomas that Gonzaga's played, you can find one comp game where we're talking about the rebounding, and that's Arizona State. Arizona State and Alabama are almost identical rebounding numbers. And in that game, Gonzaga out-rebounded them by 14 on the road, won the game by 12. Arizona State certainly is not in Alabama's offensive league, but I still think it means something here. And this is the thing with Alabama. We're kind of seesawing each and every game with them because I think the matchup absolutely makes what's going to happen on the court the reality. Worked in St. John's, didn't work against Purdue, worked at Illinois. I don't know that it works against Gonzaga, so I think I would lay it. And as for the total, I mean, that's a one-way ticket. Either you play over or you don't play at all.
Yeah, that would be a very miserable 2-hour experience, I think, watching this game and betting under. One thing that I wanted to bring up right after. Not only has Bama had this really tough schedule, this will be their 4th straight top 10 opponent, Gonzaga's been off for a week. So, yeah. I mean, that is a just massive scheduling edge for the Zags. I mean, you could argue, I guess, if you're wearing crimson, you're going to probably argue, well, we're battle tested. We're ready for this. This is, nobody cries about this in March, whereas maybe Gonzaga is a little bit rusty.
And guys, I really think fan base wise, it'd lean towards Gonzaga here pretty heavily. Yes. I don't know on Thanksgiving week if folks from Tuscaloosa want to travel to Las Vegas. I really don't think that's going to happen, where Gonzaga's got kind of a built-in fan base there. They're in Las Vegas a lot. So what game? I think it was the Arizona game, right? When they were playing in Las Vegas way back at the beginning of the year. We talked about it, and it turned out to come true against Florida. So maybe the fans help here too.
Yeah. And Bayou actually clarified, he's correct that scoring differential is what matters. This is something, obviously, you hear about this in the NBA Cup, Rob, as well. Scoring differential matters. So at the end of games, teams are going to still be trying, because that's the tiebreak is point differential. So there you go.
Yeah, and of course the WCC plays their conference tournament in Vegas, so they're always there in March. They probably, I would say they play 3, 4, 5 games a year in Vegas usually, like even without this tournament, whether it's a standalone at T-Mobile. They've had plenty of games in Vegas. And yeah, I would agree that they have some fan base there. I rarely come on here with like a totals opinion. I've said this a million times. It's just not really like how I handicap. It's I don't know when the last time I gave out a total for a client play was, but sometimes they catch my eye. This one, like I had a feeling the over or the opener was too low. It looks like the market has suggested that is the case. Now up to 176. I've got this in like the 180s, like the low 180s. So I guess the one thing I'll point out, which would point me toward the over here, where I think Gonzaga probably wins this game if they do, is the ability to score up front. I'm not sure Alabama's post defense is going to be able to hold up against Gonzaga. The other thing that makes me think that this one probably soars over is Purdue was really able to slow down Bama, which is really the reason they lost that game. And you talk about early in the season and being tested. Well, we've now seen Alabama play 4 games. One was obviously a cupcake against North Dakota, but the St. John's game, the Illinois game, I felt like Alabama was able to sort of instill the game that they wanted to play into the game. And then you had a 90-86 final with Illinois, who was actively trying to slow them down. The game that there was a team that was willing to go with them a little bit, St. John's, over 200 points in the game, close to 200 points, 103-96 final. I don't think Gonzaga is going to really mind playing faster here, right? Like, I don't think they maybe that, like, it's hard to know what they're going to do. Certainly, I think they want to get the ball inside, but Gonzaga can play fast. We've almost seen Gonzaga at times go back to previous years, and this maybe was with some of the teams that weren't quite as good in recent years. I almost felt like they would play too fast. Like sometimes Gonzaga gets themselves out of sorts by trying to play way too fast, which is why I don't know if I have much of an opinion on the side, but feel like 180 is like a no-brainer. Like this is going to get to 180, no problem. So my lean would be over. All right, let's keep it. Let's go ahead, BP. Were you going to add
the last thing I was going to add as far as the side goes, I think this game is largely determined by, can the Zags turn Bama over? The Zags, obviously, you look at these margins of victories they've produced against what we'll call lesser teams, certainly lesser opponents compared to Alabama. The margins of victory have really been predicated on turning the opponent over. Alabama has not been turning the ball over that much so far this season. So I think that ultimately determines who emerges from this game victorious.
All right, let's stay in the players era. We'll go a little double feature for today, and then all hell will break loose as we try to start figuring out like what you guys want to talk about on the rest of this slate. But let's talk the other ranked versus ranked. This one's a little bit earlier, so this will give you sort of a midday feature, if you will. I'll go back to Brian Power. We've got Iowa State, St. John's. Very intriguing matchup. How are you? Do you have an edge here either way?
No, I don't either. So the first thing is, and I'll be talking about this a lot, mainly on Tuesdays, we'll be talking about after we've got the new rankings, but I always like to compare my rankings to what we've got from the pollsters here. And here you have 2 teams that I have it considered top 10 teams. I don't really want to bet against either of these teams. I think they're better than where the AP has them ranked. That's just my initial, I was like, I saw this match, sometimes you see an event like this, guys, and you're like, all right, God, I would love for this team to be matched up against this team. And then you get a matchup like this where you're like, I don't really want to bet against either of these 2 sides right now. I guess if you forced me to make a pick, Trigg, I would say Iowa State. They've been defending inside the arc exceptionally well. I do think the game will be played at a pretty fast pace. If you're looking at the whether or not that leads to an over, I don't know if we'll get enough points, but I guess just the slightest of leans towards Iowa State, but I don't. This is, again, unfortunately, that sometimes these marquee games aren't where the value is. I mean, I was joking with you guys what I was looking at for my parlay, and needless to say, neither of those games are in the Players Era tournament. I don't think any of the 4 teams involved were considered for the Players Era tournament. We'll go way down the board for those. But this game, I don't know. I look at it very similar to the first game we talked about, where I'm pretty much right on market. And I don't know. I think the favorite pulls it out, but I don't necessarily want to bet it.
Yeah, guys, I'll go to the total on this one. I thought this one was too low, Adam, 159.5. I think it'll be played at pace. Both teams, the backcourts are so good in this game that St. John's, obviously, I mean, half of my reason is that I just feel like St. John's forces their tempo on other teams, partly because of their defensive style, because they will pick you up and make you go, 3/4 court, full court, half court, whatever. They'll get after you, which kind of leaves the door open for really good ball handling teams a lot of times to find the open guy and drill a shot. For Iowa State, they've got plenty of that. The other thing here is that they both have penetrating guards. And I could see a lot of free throws in this game, guys. For Iowa State, with Lipsy and Torre, and Lipsy's one of the best in my mind at getting to the rim. What TJ Otzenberger quoted as maybe a difficult matchup for them in this game was Zuby Ejiofor in the middle. He thought that could be problematic for Iowa State. So certainly if he knows it and is recognizing it, there'll be some kind of focus on it. But, St. John's is so good at scoring. When you add Bryce Hopkins to this team, to me, I just thought this was probably the game. And not that I didn't think Alabama, Gonzaga would be lined at 170, but I thought this game would be really close. I thought maybe we'd be looking at 67, 68 in this game, and we're not. 59.5 up to 160. So for me, I think this is definitely a personal play on this game over the number, and probably make the client card as well within the next few minutes here because of, the early start. You want to make sure it gets out there. But I do think this is a high scoring game. I just, they're rims that these two teams don't play on a lot. As far as fan base is concerned, I wouldn't think it's a great game. It's a game that I think, Adam, we'd love to be at, but I don't know how much of an audience it'll attract out there as far as specific fans from St. John's, Jamaica, Queens, and Iowa State are concerned. Although St. John's could be nationwide. I mean, they are a big name. But give me over in that game.
I feel like, if anything, Iowa State hoop fans travel. Like they always dominate that conference tournament in Kansas City. I know this would be a little bit farther, but it's like I don't think it's that crazy to get out to Vegas on a flight from Iowa. So if you ask me who's going to have more fans in the building, it's probably Iowa State. Right. Whether that matters or not, I'm not quite sure. I will say this though: there's no way that St. John's can win a low scoring game against Iowa State. Like they just can't. They don't have the guards to handle the ball against that Iowa State defense. So in my opinion, regardless of what happens in the game, like St. John's has to turn this into a track meet or they're not going to win. Like just that simple. I just like Iowa State, like they're now granted, like you could make the argument that, well, we haven't really seen Iowa State play anyone. Fairleigh Dickinson, Grambling, Stonehill are all like very like low majors. I guess the one team that, Iowa State has played that would be like good is Mississippi State, but they looked terrible last week.
Yeah.
I might have downgraded them as much as I downgraded any team. They were atrocious, absolutely atrocious. Brian, go ahead.
There's one team I've down. I would say Mississippi State is very, very high on the list of Loyola Chicago is by far the biggest downgrade in the country. I can't believe. By the way, shout out to all you guys in the chat who were talking that smack, saying, "Hey, let's take this a step further with Northern Illinois, played them on the money line." Yeah, because they did it to the Ramblers.
That was incredible. Yeah, I can't believe they got blown out. They got blown out.
Yeah.
But back to this one, like if you pin me down for a side, I think I would take Iowa State. I thought money line, like where it opened, Iowa State -1. I thought there was like a tiny bit of value there. It looks like it's now up to 2.5, even 3 some places. So like, even though I agree with the move, I wouldn't, it's not something I would want to get in late on. And really the only reason I have that I'm like, would put me on the Iowa State side is I think their defense is like the thing I trust the most about this matchup. But if St. John's can turn this into a crazy track meet type game, they can win a game like that. So again, it's probably not something I'll have a play on.
I think, Adam, real quick, that Iowa State trio, we know they're tested. Even though they haven't played big name teams this year, they're returning top three, Mimsilovic and Lipsy and Jefferson. Those guys have been through these types of wars, so I don't even know if I would consider the schedule a problem at right now.
That's a great point. Really good point. All right, let's get to questions. I'm going to give my parlay leg out right now. Again, it pays to show up and watch live. Apologies in advance if you caught the replay to this because, well, it could be a good thing. If I lose, it'll be a good thing, but hopefully we're not going to lose. I'm going to use Troy in the parlay. They are playing Toledo. So I saw some people asking me about early games, and this was one that keeps coming up. So you can actually, wow, this is even. So I guess we'll talk Troy Toledo here. It's one of the first games off the board today, 11 a.m. tip. I am going to take the Troy. You know what I'll do for the parlay, Brian Power? While I'm breaking this game down, can you figure out what the money line is for Troy right now?
Absolutely can do that because I actually have a 2-screen setup here despite being on the road. All right.
So while he's looking that up, I'm just going to talk about the game a little bit. So the reason I targeted this game, and this is the only thing I've played so far today, I will add plenty others, but like I've tweaked some things. After a rough couple days, I've changed up my approach to releasing plays a little bit. So the only thing I've played so far, Troy -2.5. It's a 3% play for me. And I'm probably just going to use the Troy money line in the parlay. But the reason I focused on this game is I feel like I have a very good read on this Toledo team. I believe I'm 4-0 playing either for or against Toledo this year. Brian Power and I got to go out to Savage Arena first week into the season. We saw them play Marshall. And the reason I feel like I have a good read on this team is they're a very different team depending on like what kind of opponents, what their opponent is going to do against them. So those first two games where Toledo looked awful, South Alabama and Marshall both have the ability to play a very tricky style zone type defense. And with Toledo trying to dribble, drive, dribble, kick, it just didn't work. The offense didn't look good at all. And they lost both of those games. Now, Toledo comes into this game on a 3-game winning streak. Big reason I think Toledo was able to win 3 straight games. Wright State plays a lot of man. Youngstown State plays a lot of man. And Detroit, I actually played Detroit plus 10.5 and cashed that game. Toledo wasn't necessarily great in that game. They sort of willed their way to a win against a lesser team. So like Toledo's got these 3 straight wins, but 2 of them were at home. Almost all 3 of them were a very favorable setup. Now, I get why people are taking the points with Toledo. Like, I understand the thought process of the market saying Toledo +5 is too many. Troy just came off of these like 2 crazy games. It's now in a neutral court. That's too many points for a neutral court. And I just straight up disagree with that. I think this is a great matchup for Troy. I think Troy's defense right now is underrated based on the fact that they played Cal Northridge, who is like just going to play offense and not defend at all. They played USC, went to multiple overtimes, crazy game. San Diego State, couple OTs. And also USC and San Diego State are not Toledo. Like those are, borderline power conference team. Well, one is a power conference team from the Big Ten. San Diego State might as well be a power conference team at this point. And Northridge plays a game that there's just they're not playing any defense, but they can score. So I think you have a very deceiving sort of profile here for Troy, suggesting that Scott Cross's team isn't going to play any defense. I disagree with that. I didn't agree with the move, and so at 2.5, I just decided to jump in. You can actually get 2 out there right now, but for the parlay, I'm just going to put the money line in. So Brian Power, what is the Troy money line at this point?
We can call it -140, -145. DraftKings got it at -140. If we want to give an actual number, a book has DraftKings is at -142.
So let's go. Yeah, we'll call it minus 145. I mean, we're gonna have plus money on the parlay anyway. We need to hit one of these. We hit 3 parlays in the first week, and then we went 2 weeks without hitting one, which is why I decided let's just give ourselves a better chance to win and go money line. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, and if anyone remembers from Friday, I know obviously we're coming off a busy weekend, and it was a few days ago, and we've watched a lot of football since then. We're all trying to, breathe deep and prepare for feast week, rivalry week. It's obvious this is one of the busiest. I don't need to speak for Rob or Trigg to say this is one of the busiest weeks of the year, obviously in this business. But if you forgot on Friday, we had that thing, man. We had that. We had that parlay. And
it's the second one that a team has totally died, and we cost us an over that would
a team total. Yeah. So we again, there's been 3 days in 15 shows where if you bet them all 3 legs straight, you wouldn't have gone at least 2-1. So we've hit a lot more than we've got wrong. So I forgot you asked me something initially. I can't remember what it was.
No, it's good. Guys. I was just
53 first half points. I was like, and in the text thread, I know we're like, hey, go Georgia, we're going to win this thing. And I don't know what happened. 25 second half points and to need a shot to win the game on top of that is just crazy.
Yeah, I think they had 2 points in a 10-minute stretch or something like that. It was insane.
Just nuts.
So, and with that being said, again, I'll just remind everyone that this is an 11 a.m. tip. This is, I believe, in Fort Myers, Florida. I like the Troy Trojans. I just think they're a better team. And then the matchup sets up for them. Like, you mean to tell me they're going to be tired from a triple OT game they played like 3 days ago? I just don't agree with that. It would be one thing if it was like back-to-back days, but that was a few days ago at this point. Troy, 11 a.m. tip, client play for me. I laid the 2.5 for clients, 3%. So go ahead, Brian.
And I don't know if you guys wanted to hit this game, and far be it for me just to start taking over the formatting, but I just wanted to shout it out because I saw the chat in the chat. Somebody said this, and I actually completely agree with it.
All right, what are we looking at?
Stony Brook and Pacific. I think the wrong team is favored there as well. I don't agree with Pacific.
All right, well,
you
brought it up,
and the numbers moving, which is very interesting to me. So I don't know. I just from a pure rate, I saw someone said I think the wrong team's favored. I said, oh, that's an interesting. Let me look at this.
Well,
and I compared to my power ratings, and I said, yeah, I don't know why the line is going. I think this game should be a pick 'em. To be honest with you, Stony Brook is a slight favorite. So this is an 11:30 a.m. Eastern tip in Daytona Beach, by the way.
Yeah. So what was, because I was like a little bit off on the number here, but I didn't really trust my read on both of these teams right now. So Brian, tell what
Pacific's up to 4.5. Pacific's up to 4.5. I have to take Stony Brook getting 4.5. I don't understand. I mean, unless if someone's out and I don't know, maybe someone, had a little too much fun on Daytona Beach last night. Otherwise I just don't understand why we're seeing that kind of money. And the thing that scares you is when I look at it, looks like kind of sharp money because Circa went to 4.5 first and everyone else has followed now. So I don't know. I will just agree with the comment, the person in the chat. It was in our chat before we even went live. Someone said, I think they disagreed with this line move, and I just wanted to I apologize that I can't remember who said it, but I agree with that comment, whoever said it earlier. I'll look up the name.
So, and then I'll go to Rob if to wrap this up, if he's got
Caleb Miller 02 was the person there.
So all I'll say about Pacific is Dave Smart is in his second year there. And he was kind of like, so I believe he came from like Canadian college basketball or something. And I know like there was a lot of sharp people that were very high on him going to Pacific. So like last year, every Pacific game moved 3 or 4 points. But the thing is, I don't know that there was a correlation between those line moves and like cashing tickets. I think sometimes it worked out. Sometimes it didn't. I would guess that it wasn't better than 50-50. I think right angle bets Pacific like every time they play and they move the market. Maybe they bet him again today. I don't know if there's carryover from this year to last year. Now, where I'll disagree a little bit, like my numbers suggested that like I was like off the market the other direction. So I had Pacific a much bigger favorite than the 3. But again, these are 2 teams where I don't fully trust my rating on, like Stony Brook. CJ Luster's now at Wilmington. I don't know that they really reloaded. So like, I don't. They are always scrappy though. That's one thing. Like Stony Brook always gets left for dead in that conference. They're always like better than they should be. I don't really have much else other than the fact that, like, I will tell you, going back to last year, that if you faded these Pacific line moves in a lot of cases at the better number, you're probably ahead, because like they would move 3-4 points, then Pacific would lose the game outright. So again, I wish I had more to add there. Rob, anything else on Pacific Stony Brook for you?
No, but I'll move real quick, Adam, because we got so many early games. Let's just throw a couple out there that could be of intrigue here. NC State, Seton Hall. We've talked about Will Wade all season long. Now he's going to go try and win the Maui Invitational against Shaheen Holloway. Shaheen Holloway, who, since the preseason and maybe even earlier, has been preaching, the improvement in his team. It's very hard to get a gauge on how good Seton Hall is. And again, this is a one-way team. Top heavy defensively, less than zero capability offensively, to be honest. They played 5 teams that really are nowhere near the class of NC State. They smashed all 5. They defended all 5. It just comes into question now, and obviously the market thinks that they can't defend this NC State team. The problem you would have is that sometimes these pit bull-like defensive teams get under the skin of teams that want to go and score and, be real quick here. And to the other point, if NC State gets out quick, Seton Hall can't chase. So it's a crazy type of handicap here. It looks like the money's moving towards NC State. The money's moving toward over, thinking that maybe NC State will dictate this thing. I think the biggest question is Seton Hall kids in Maui. I don't know how often Seton Hall gets to Maui. And NC State, Will Wade, to me, as I've said before, is just a guy on a mission with this team, probably has his team better focused. This is all obviously guessing and reading between the lines from what we've seen so far this year out of NC State. But 9.5, which is universally available now, I think maybe you take a shot here with NC State. I don't know. I would expect that Seton Hall winds up chasing and can't find their way back into that one. And real quick, and I'll let you guys hit on this one, but the Rutgers-Tennessee game intrigues me a little bit. Plus 15.5 with Rutgers, the way they're playing defense for Steve Peichel this year. And Tennessee really has had ball protection issues. They're not necessarily a dominant offensive team. Maybe 15.5 is too much there. Maybe a good take with Rutgers.
So I agree with Rob on both of those games. I thought this NC State line was a touch, and the market agrees. I thought that number was a touch low. I thought NC State should have been a double-digit favorite in that spot. So I agree. And then Rutgers, Tennessee, I'm glad Rob brought that up because I wanted to talk about that game too. We talk about this player's ear format, how you know your opponent tomorrow. Okay. Tennessee has Houston looming on the docket. Is there maybe a look ahead factor for the Volunteers? Look, I played against Tennessee last week for a leg of the parlay. I said it was going to be a sweaty, sweaty butt cheeks game at the end. And we were kind of lucky to even cover 32.5, Trigg, because Tennessee did not shoot well and they almost still covered. That's the concern right now if you want to bet against Tennessee today, that they're coming off the game where they didn't shoot more. I know their third leading scorers out. I think this is an under game, Rutgers and Tennessee. I think two defensive-minded teams. It's an early start in Vegas, sleepy first half maybe. Tennessee coaching staff with a mind on maybe a little bit of the brain on Houston. Under is how I would look at that game.
Yeah, like inadvertently, you can just timestamp this like the Garden State segment. We've got a little Seton Hall, Rutgers. We'll do them together. I don't really have much to disagree with either of those. Like, as far as NC State, what I'll say is, like, I felt like VCU played very good in that game. Like, I don't think, like, NC State didn't cover against Virginia Commonwealth, but I don't think it was because it had anything to do with NC State. I just thought VCU, played a good game. And if VCU hit a couple more threes, that's a different story. I mean, they jacked up 42 3-pointers against NC State in that game. They still hit 13 of them, which isn't half bad. But like you look at that game, NC State out rebounded them by quite a bit. It was one of those games where NC State turned the ball over 17 times. Credit to VCU. I know it's Phil Martelli now, but he does play a style a little bit similar to what VCU used to play, where trying to turn the ball over and create some, I guess you'd call it havoc, if you will. So again, I'm not going to knock NC State for not getting the cover in that game. And I'm kind of with Rob. I think Will Wade is going to destroy a lot of spreads. I think when he can, he's going to want to win by 10, 15. And the one thing about Seton Hall is, they catch an offensive drought at some point, which we know Holloway's teams will and can do. And suddenly you're down 10. So don't disagree with you there. Brian, as far as like my rating on Tennessee, a little bit lower than the market. So I wouldn't be able to lay, there was no scenario where I'd ever be able to lay 15.5.
No.
And what I've said about Rutgers a couple of times, which I'll bring back up to wrap up this segment, then we'll move on. Even though this is a far less talented Rutgers team for Steve Peichel, it's probably more of his type of team. Like he really made some big time concessions last year for Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper. That was not like he basically had these two stud players, but playing a style of basketball that wasn't really like his strengths, coaching to his strengths. So now you have a Rutgers team. Yes, they're far worse than they were from a talent standpoint last year, but they're going to get back to playing that style of basketball that got Rutgers from a bottom team in the Big Ten to a tournament team back in 2021 and I think 2022. So I'm a little higher than the market on Rutgers. And so, 15.5 kind of makes sense.
Just one last point, we could put a bow on it with Tennessee. Tennessee 5-0 straight up, but just 1-4 against the number. I would love a non-cover here, and I would actually then maybe just, again, maybe I'm overthinking the room here. I'm in a different room than normal, obviously, but maybe we get a decent number on Tennessee against Houston then, as first time as an underdog.
Yeah, it's a good point. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I as much as I had to say on those two games, I was looking ahead here at some stuff that's moving. So go right ahead, Em.
Is Buff leading out the Syracuse team or something today? Have I missed? Was that not? Did I not receive that memo?
Listen, I got to get there's a lot of comments coming in. Like we're going to do the best to get to as many of them as possible. Thank you, Drake Dimes, for the donation. Very much appreciate it. That's a good way to get your comment seen because it puts it in green. I can't possibly miss it if that's the case. He likes Northern Kentucky over Eastern Kentucky. He says he's got it -2.5 last night. I see it's already 3.5. Let me get to this game, and I'll give you guys a second to just find. There's such a big slate today, but I want to make sure we touch on this game. So this would be extra board because of Eastern Kentucky, if you're trying to navigate. And so I think he's saying that he laid the 3 with Northern Kentucky last night. So here's the thing. I'm not going to disagree with you because I don't feel like I have a great beat on either of these teams. I have successfully bet against Eastern Kentucky at times this year, but my personal number here was closer to pick. So I think I was actually at Eastern Kentucky -1. And so now that it's 3.5, I don't know if that I would lay that. Again, I just wish and I'll let the other two chime in if they have anything to add. Like these are just two teams now. Northern Kentucky, it is a home game for them. So you do have the edge of this isn't on an island somewhere. This is a true home game for Northern Kentucky. But again, I think right now with where just straight up off of my numbers, I would grab that 3.5 with Eastern Kentucky. And it's not going to make my card, but that's just the way I'm looking at it. Hope that, but I'm rooting for you. I'll root for you because I have no action in this game. Does anyone else want to throw something out for Drake Dimes?
Eastern Kentucky's not covered spread this year, unless if my numbers are wrong. I believe they're 0-4 against the number. I could go to this game, I guess, Trigg. I know if you were me, you would go to this game. I'm in Northern Kentucky right now, a.k.a. Cincinnati, Ohio. What if after we're done here, what if I just go up to the kids, my daughter, my niece, and nephew, and say, forget about the zoo gang. We're going to Northern Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky tonight. So, I don't know. Who
That
knows?
sounds
Maybe if
way
I get
better
real
than
bored,
the
I'll
zoo.
go. Yeah, well, yes, it does. I don't know if I might be outvoted on that, but who knows? I'm right on market here. Actually, I would on a neutral, I would make this a pick 'em, but obviously with the and look, Northern Kentucky doesn't have like the strongest home court in the world, but I would make them slight favorites. So if you got a good number, I say hats off to you, Drake Dimes, and thank you for your contribution, by the way, to the program. Remember to smash that like button, everybody. It doesn't cost a thing.
Adam,
Yeah.
I'll hop in real quick with
Yeah, go
Parlay
ahead.
Leg so we can get
Yep,
this
go ahead.
over with, and then we can answer more questions. Going to look towards Arkansas State here tonight, guys. There's been some movement in this price tag. They went up from 2.5, which is obviously better than having to lay 4.5, but I like the line move, and I think it's the right side here. Ray Harper's been at Jacksonville State forever. We know what he likes to do. He'll try to control tempo. It's interesting. This is the first road game for Jacksonville State this year. And Arkansas State, I don't know what you would call it here, but it was a tough road trip, a 2-game swing to go to St. Mary's and play as tough as they did at St. Mary's and then be asked to go to Dallas. I think we talked about this Friday because I think I gave the SMU team total to somebody on air. To have to go to Dallas and play Andy Enfield's SMU team. They get whacked 100-69, but now they're back home against Jacksonville State in their first true road game. The first real opponent Jacksonville State got to play at home was South Alabama. They promptly lost by 6. Now they're going to go on the road to play a team that likes up tempo, what they don't like in the other side's gym. And I think Arkansas State, just off of that, watching that St. Mary's game, is a flat out better team than Jacksonville State right now. So you're going to give me home floor, a team that can score better. I don't know that Jacksonville State, other than South Alabama, has been faced with a team with offensive capability like Arkansas State, certainly not with pace like Arkansas State. I think it works against them here. So give me the line move. I get it. We're 2 points to the bad here. Could have got in at 2.5. We're going to hop in at 4.5. But I think Arkansas State wins this game by 3 buckets or more. So give me Arkansas State as a parlay leg minus 4.5.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. That was something that was on my radar. You could always throw the money line in if you were worried about the number, since it is a 3-teamer. But if you want to go 4.5, that's cool. It's up to you.
Yeah, we could alternate line it too. What are they at 2.5 if we go back to the beginning?
Yes. I feel like see, that's the thing. If you're going to do that, you might as well just throw the money line in, because they're never going to give you the right odds on an alternate line. But the money line would make far more sense than 2.5. But what do you want? What do you want to go with? 4.5 for the parlay?
I'm looking right now, so they're about a $2 favorite. We have to get our mathematician Brian to if it goes money line. What's the difference in our?
I can run the numbers.
Okay.
I have the
figure it out, Adam. And if it's not that big of a deal, we'll play money line. 2-1 actually doesn't sound like that bad of a price for a 4.
No, it'll be. And the thing is, it regardless of what Brian throws in the parlay, like, we're still going to be plus money. So we might as well. That's kind of where my head was at with Troy. It's like, well, let's just see if we can give ourselves a better chance.
Let's just go win one, right? Okay, yeah. Let's play money line. Let's just go win one.
Speaking of the parlay, Brian Powell, do you want to close this out for us?
Yeah, and then I'll close the parlay. How about this? I'll close the parlay leg out, and then I'll answer the OU, because people are asking me about OU George Mason. So, all right, hold on here. Okay. We can all do this together, gang.
And then we'll get cues for Buff before the end of the show. I wore the hoodie, so we'll get that one.
All right. So I hate giving the opposite of something that somebody's already said in the chat, because that means they won't be happy. But I'm going to go with VMI getting the 7.5 at Buffalo here. So this is the time of year, guys. You're going to see some teams with either, that have either covered all their games, haven't covered all their games, and you have to ask yourself, you have to dig in. All right, is this real or is this a mirage? With Buffalo, I think it's more of a mirage. Buffalo's coming off a game against Vermont that was much closer than the final score. What the key to this game is, guys, VMI shoots a lot of threes. They're coming off a not so good game from distance. Buffalo does not defend the three well. So I think even if VMI is not necessarily shooting a huge percentage, I think volume alone gets the key debts inside the number here. And I will take 7.5. Don't have to worry, I guess, about, mine's just straight. We're not going to have to worry about whether or not to bet money line or lay it here, because, of course, I'm taking the points, and I want to go VMI plus 7.5 to round things out.
Nice. Yeah. But Buffalo, you have to I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Just the mindset you should have as a handicapper, like Buffalo starting 5-0.
Yes.
This team has, so just to provide some context, the Buffalo Bulls were picked by many to finish near the bottom of the MAC. They've been absolutely horrific since George Halkovich took over 3 years ago. It was kind of a thing. I think it was I was obviously Nate Oates. Then it was like Whitesell, his assistant, that was still that took over, that was still pretty good there. And they kind of like, I know, like being close to proximity to Buffalo, I'll get out to Buffalo games every once in a while. And like, there was some, I don't really know why the school decided to go in a different direction, but they did. They bring in Halkovich, who was like a Jay Wright assistant, and he's been just dreadful since showing up. That being said, like, they went on the road and won at DePaul as an 18-point underdog. Pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I would argue even just as impressive, knocking off Vermont. That was like 2 4-0 teams. Vermont coming into their building. They win that game 94-90. But like, this team just learned how to win. They certainly haven't won at any other point in time for Halkovich. So are you really going to come out and start laying 7.5 on a neutral with them? I'm with you, Brian. I think I would lean VMI there as well.
I'm throwing the fingers up, Trigg, not to show off that I'm happily married, but to actually point out that 3 is the number of wins by 7 points or by less than 7 points that Buffalo has. So while they are undefeated, okay, we're talking about a 5-0 team. They've covered the spread in every game here. They have won 3 games by 7 points or less. One of them against Green Bay. We know that they stink. Southern Miss in the opener. So yeah, the DePaul, I mean, that's an impressive result. Okay. But I just think that now, you know, you're at a tipping, we call it a tipping point, right? Here's a team that's been a surprise. They've covered the spread in every game. And I don't know. I just think it's time to I'm not saying they're going to lose outright by any stretch of the imagination, but I just think that, you know, this number's gotten a little rich at 7.5. VMI is going to come in here, you know, after 3 straight losses, and they're going to compete. And I did look, they got buried by Richmond last time out. It was a situation where they just could not make a 3, 26%. We don't need that. That was 2 games ago. Actually, I apologize. The Stetson game was the last game. But still, I just think volume alone gets VMI in the number. I think Buffalo, where are they at 3-point defense wise? It's very bad. It's like, despite the start, I mean, I think it's like bottom 20.
Brian.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I knew it was like bottom 20, 25 in the country. So there you go. I mean, if VMI is hitting those threes, then I do think they can win this game outright.
Rob, let's go back to you. Let's get a little more players error in the final 10 minutes. And we'll, I know Jay Buff wants to talk about this game. I showed up in the hoodie, not because I like Syracuse today. I was just cold in what I was wearing prior. So I threw this one on. I'll root for Syracuse here. I don't think I'm going to have a play. And of course I'd love to see the local team win. But Rob, I mean, that opening number was awfully low for Houston. I kind of am where it's at right now. Certainly not going to punch back here, but I think the current number of this game is probably right. So your thoughts, Houston, Syracuse out in Vegas?
Well, you know, I'll take something that Brian said a little while ago when he said maybe a little look ahead for Tennessee because they're playing Houston tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I'll guarantee you Kelvin Sampson doesn't look ahead to anybody. I mean, It's just pound, and pound again. You know, Houston first half has been a thing for a while. Yep. I went back and looked at their results so far. First half, 47-25 against Rider, 39-35 over Auburn, only a 4-point differential there, 39-17, smash Oakland by 22, and 33-26, the 5th game I don't have in front of me. But, you know, when you try to shorten Houston up, you try to go to first half. And like I say, it's been successful, but here they're still 8.5. This is a team whose defense, if you're not ready, they'll swallow you immediately, right? And I'm just not sure that Syracuse will be ready. It takes a little while for teams to try and even adjust. And Houston's so good on the boards, too. I mean, they just crash boards and get second chances. They shoot a lot of threes this year, which is somewhat uncharacteristic, but I feel like that number's been building up. I can't disagree with anybody playing Houston first half full game. And like I said earlier, some of that reasoning is they won't look ahead to Tennessee, right? They don't care who's on deck for them. They just care about Kelvin Sampson just cares about whoever we're playing today. We're going to defend. We're going to make them miserable. We're going to hold them to less than 60 points, et cetera, et cetera. So I can understand the way people have gotten to this number, although I do see a little bit. I guess there's a few 13.5s. I thought I saw universal 14.5 before. So maybe there's been some punchback at that number. Maybe some folks think it's gotten a bit too high. Oh, he's muted.
Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry. I'll just wrap this one up and then I'll go to Brian. We'll get a couple of Mac thoughts in at the horn here because I see another one in the chat as well. All I'll say about Syracuse is that the positive I'll say about them is I think they have a little bit more talent than they're getting credit for. I think that, they were so dismal last year and they really just haven't been good in the Adrian Autry era. Horrific coach, by the way. But
good play.
The thing is with Autry, it's like when you're talking about a 14-point spread, that's where I'll start to not care if I have a coach I don't like as much because it's really, I think talent will cover those numbers in a lot of cases. And the one thing about Cuse is I look at the roster, Kai and Anthony kind of looks good. There's some upside there. They just got JJ Starling back in the Monmouth game. He's obviously very good. Freeman's really good. There are players here. This team very well could be better than they're getting credit for. I wouldn't take Houston. Let's circle back to the line move. I wouldn't take Houston now after it's moved 5 points.
No.
I just don't have enough faith in Syracuse for this to be where I want to take the stand with them. So I will look for a spot to back Syracuse because I do think they're a little bit undervalued against better competition. So you talk about Cuse, I bet against them last time they had a game with Monmouth. It was a client play and I gave it out on the show here. Those are the type of games I'd love to go against Cuse when they're big favorites. They're going to have a game coming up here, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's a week or two from, I think 10 days from now when they play Tennessee up here at the Dome. Your boy will be at that game where they're going to be they're going to be too big of a favorite or they're going to be too big of an underdog. And that's where I'll take my stand with Cuse. I just don't think I can do it against Houston. Brian Power, talk to me about the MAC, Ohio, and then I'll hit Bowling Green quick before we get out of here.
I agree. Or I don't know if somebody did say the under or not with the George Mason Ohio U game, but that's how I like it. OU's playing slower this year than they did last year. George Mason's playing slower. George Mason's an excellent team at the defensive end as well. Market likes the under here, and I like the under as well in that game. I don't know if this was where you wanted to go next. The other, obviously, I think the MAC team most people are interested in today is Akron. Trigg in the final out in the old Paradise Jam against Yale. I agree with the market move there towards Akron. This Akron team has been you talk about teams we downgraded earlier in the show. Okay, the Mississippi States, obviously the Loyola of Chicago's teams I've upgraded are that list. The Akron Zips are on it. Okay, this has been a very impressive team. They're only straight up losses to Purdue, and they what a performance against Iona. I thought that number was a touch high. No, it was not. And this is a revenge spot for the Zips. They lost last year at home to Yale. They haven't forgotten. I agree with the market move there. I would lean Akron. I would go Akron on the money line to win the Paradise Jam.
I want to get Rob back in here. The one thing I guess I like that Yale team a lot too, but I question their defense just a touch. Do you have any interest in over in Akron? Yale feels like there could be some efficient offense in that game.
Yeah, that's the first way I would look at that one. Not that I wouldn't look at Akron because I certainly think they're, at 1.5 and it's been a line flip in that game, switch of favorites. So the money agrees with Akron. But yeah, Adam, even on that total, we see 154.5 open up to 157.5. You could easily see 160. Akron's a team that'll hang 90 on anybody. And Yale, for what it's worth, again, one of those teams that we've talked about often where they may not race up and down the floor, but they're so efficient. That they're going to score their share as well. And real fast here, while we pivot off of that, I'll just throw in here my thoughts on Auburn, Oregon in that wonderful Players Era championship that we couldn't figure out this morning. My initial reaction was Dana Altman against Stephen Pearl. Wow, I want Oregon. But I played against Oregon last week with Oregon State because, again, they haven't come out of the gates firing. They didn't come out of the gates firing last year. Dana Altman's a pretty honest coach, and he tells you when he doesn't think his team is really good at a particular time. And since that Bethune-Cookman game where I remember texting, I'm like, is Stephen Pearl really going to lose to Bethune-Cookman? And they almost did. But since then, they've been dominant, and they played Houston to 1 point. 73-72. So the talent on Auburn, I think overall, is better than Oregon. I somewhat disagree with that line move where they're betting a lot of Oregon here, 4 down to, in some spots, 3. And I'm looking at a couple here, major players in the market for smaller bettors, 2.5. So I think Auburn might be a good side there. We'll see. But I'm not going to downgrade Stephen Pearl the way I would have to start the season.
Yeah, someone asked about early games. Well, I guess we have I should recap the parlay now. Let's get the parlay and the promotion stuff done now, and then we'll see if we can get one at the horn. But if you're looking for early games, 2 early ones in the parlay. And so I'm going Troy on the money line for my parlay leg. I laid 2.5 for clients. And that game starts in literally 4 minutes. So Troy Trojans minus 2.5 is a 3% play for me. I use Troy money line in the parlay for our 3-teamer for the show. Brian Power went VMI plus 7.5. That's a little bit of an earlier tip. And then Veno closed the parlay out with Arkansas State on the money line. I have a 5%er in the NFL tonight. If anyone cares, I've been hot in football. So that's what I have for up for sale right now on the site. Anyone else have anything to promote, since we are supposed to do that at points in time on this show?
Yes, I did. I did just notice we hadn't talked about it. I did want to note, coming off the strong Sunday, guys, 3-0-1 overall for me. Hit my game of the week in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? What a comeback that was.
How about that comeback?
Eagles. It was kind of weird. Down 21-0. I actually didn't feel as, depressed as you probably would have thought. I was like, I think we can get back. And when it got to 21-14, I was like, I think we're taking this one. And they did. Won it outright despite a lot of tomfoolery from the Cowboys side. They were really trying not to win that game, but they did. And I liked that. So 3-0-1. Did over the weekend, by the way, anyone who grabbed that package, the college basketball package that Rob, Trigg, and I offer each and every weekend, where you can get all of our plays for one low price, was very pleased to cash my biggest play of the college hoop season so far to date. That was the over in Northern Iowa, UC Irvine. Trigg, I texted you very late at night.
Great game.
Because
what a
that game did not. That was a late tip, and that game did not go over the total until very late at night because we needed overtime and we needed a last-second shot in overtime. So was very pleased that happened after a couple college football games didn't go our way earlier on Saturday. So I've got a play on the Monday Night Football game as well on the Panthers and Niners. So people can check that out, WT.buzz/BP.
Rob, anything to promote?
Quick, guys,
go ahead.
I'll just close it out real quick as all 3 of us talking NFL here, but huge Sunday for myself, plus 6.5 units yesterday in the NFL. Sit atop the Wager Top rankings board in NFL all season long. I believe number 1 since the preseason, number 2 if you're counting just regular season. So it's been a great NFL season, and we got Wager Talk's running a season-long promotion right now, guys. I believe $3.99 for everything throughout the Super Bowl. So if you want to get involved in football, please do. And also, we got a big Thanksgiving NFL weekend coming up. So again, NFL's been great. Check out my homepage, WT.buzz/RV for football packages.
I'll throw one more out for you guys, because people are still asking about some of the early games, some of the ones tipping off right now. I saw someone in the chat ask about Bowling Green. I was tempted to lay the 7. I think they're a much better team than Bucknell. So Bucknell, I've talked about on the show a couple of times. They lose Noah Williamson to Alabama. There's no way they were ever going to replace a guy like that. But I think they're down from the team that was the number 1 seed that won the Patriot League last year. Of course, they got upset in their conference tournament. Brian Power and I saw Bowling Green in person a couple of weeks ago. This team's solid. I think they're going to be much better than people think. Not going to ding them too much for the loss to William and Mary. I felt like they maybe had a down performance coming at some point, and I kind of feel like they bounced back here. My number was close, so I didn't get to the window with it, but a pretty good lean toward the Bowling Green Falcons in that game. That's a noon tip on some island, probably somewhere in Florida, I'm sure. Somewhere in Florida. I think
The
it's either
Sun
in
Coast. Yeah. I think, I don't think, it was when he said it was Island, I forgot where I looked it up earlier today where this Suncoast Credit Union Arena
It's in
is.
Fort Myers, Florida,
That's right.
I believe.
Oh,
All right, we are at the hour mark. Thank you guys for bearing with us. Huge slate. I know there's a bunch we didn't get to, but when there's this isn't your usual Monday show. A lot of times we get on a Monday and hit like the whole board, but this is a feast week, so it's going to get crazy. And we'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. to do it all again. Enjoy the college hoops all day today, and we'll see you guys 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everyone.